Hi everyone, Wendy Taylor here, and one more evening I'm with you. We try to do this once a week on Thursday nights about 7:30, and I do have some important things that I want to share with you tonight. And we're calling this little segment the most important weapon in your arsenal. And I know some of you are thinking, oh my goodness, what is she talking about tonight? And you know, life is an uphill battle between good and evil. All of us are in an uphill battle. And we need to know what is the most important thing that we can possess to get through this battle that all of us are in. And you know, the most important weapon that all of us can have is wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom is a combination of experience, understanding, and knowledge. And the most important one out of those three is experience. And I'd like to give you a few examples of experience, how it is just so valuable when it comes to wisdom. My husband and I were foster parents for 25 years and worked with many, many challenging children. During that time, we had a number of social workers that would come in and instruct us how to work with the children, how to deal with different problems, things like that. And it wasn't long, and we found that many of the social workers were about 19, 20, 21 years old and had never had a child before. They had never fostered a child. They didn't have a child of their own. And they were children that we had children that were just so difficult, and these social workers would come in, and because of information they had read in a book, they were giving us instruction on how to work with children. And that was rather frustrating for us because we had children of our own. We had been fostering for many years. We had over 100 children that lived with us, but we were receiving instruction from young 21-year-olds that had no experience but seemed to have all the answers from a textbook. And you know, I've heard it said just in a joking way before that there's nobody in the world that has more important, that knows how to raise children better than people that have never had a child. And maybe you found that yourself, that people that have all the advice how to raise a child are people that have never had a baby or never had a child. Well, another example I'd like to give you, when my husband and I were fostering, we also had a treatment program for children, and we had one little mother. She was from a different denomination than we belonged to, but every time a challenge would come up with her and she didn't know what to do about a certain child, she'd say, let me go in my prayer room and pray. And she would get down on her knees and pray and ask God to give her wisdom to show her what to do about a certain challenge and a certain child. And so the kids got used to that if they asked her what to do, she had to go in and talk to God first. And you know, she had such tremendous results with her children and with what she was doing with the foster children she had, that even in the city of Toronto, in Toronto, Ontario, it was passed on to the Children's Aid that this little mother had so much wisdom they couldn't get over the challenging children that she was able to work with. My husband and I, we were called into a meeting one time, and there were about 6 or 7 social workers. There was a few psychologists, psychiatrists, supervisors that were all sitting in on this meeting. And they started asking us questions and just wanted to know, how did we deal with certain problems? They would give us scenarios like, if a child ran away in the middle of the night and stole all the neighborhood bikes, how would you handle it in the morning? What would you do? So my husband and I had prayed before, and we didn't have any great university training or anything, but we had lots of experience working with these children. And we also had the greatest help, and that was our prayer life and believing that God would entrust wisdom to us when we needed it. Well, we would all of a sudden, they'd ask us these questions, very difficult questions, some of them very challenging. And my husband and I just seemed to have the answers for them. We just knew the right thing to do in different situations. Well, this went on for about an hour. They gave us different scenarios and just asked us, what would we do about this? What would we do about that? And, you know, when we got finished, they said to us, where did you get this information from? So we told them, we said, well, you know, before we came into this meeting, we prayed and asked God for wisdom to show us what it is that how to answer your questions, and that God would show us the right thing. And they said, well, that was nice of you to be so humble, but where did you really get the information? Because we're all blown away by the answers that you gave us. We don't even know where, which behavioral, was it behavior modification? Was it some other behavioral thing that you had been learning in school or college that you were following? What was it? A behavioral technique is what I was trying to say. What is it that you're following? And we said, you know, we don't have one. We just pray and God shows us what to do. Another example, we were in a foster care program in Kitchener, and we had some foster parents that came into the program, and they were very nice people, just a lovely Christian family. They had 2 small children. They had, they were just a very sweet couple, but they had one huge problem working with these difficult children, and that was that they did not believe in discipline, really. They believed in loving these children, and they just knew that eventually these kids were going to come around and they were going to just love them and obey and do everything they were told. But you know, the sad thing was these kids started getting worse and worse. One day, these children had got a hold of some guns, and these children, I would say, were about 13, 14 years old. And they went around the house from the outside, and they started shooting in the windows, and these lovely foster parents had to get on the floor with their 2 babies that were under 5 years old and try to hold the children down so that they wouldn't be shot. Now, this is so sad, but this is a couple that really was not called to be foster parents, I don't believe. And these challenging children that we had it just was not a match. It was not the right thing. It wasn't long, and they had to quit. But you know, experience means so much. But you know, the greatest wisdom that we can have, it starts with the fear of the Lord, and it ends with the fear of the Lord. And some of you might say, what is the fear of the Lord? It means to have a great reverence for the Lord and for His Word. You know, in James 1:15 it says, if you lack wisdom, ask of God, and He will give to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. God, if you ask Him for wisdom, He will give it to you, because He loves us and He wants us to be wise. But you know, I don't believe that there is any wisdom, really true wisdom, outside of God. There are people that have university education, and there's people that have this and they have that. But you know, unless they really know God, and unless they've had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, I don't believe that they have a true wisdom. Now, Proverbs 28:26. I'd like to read you a verse or two and see what it says in the Bible. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wise, he shall be delivered. So if you're just, you know, depending on your own heart, your own wisdom, depending on what kind of degree you have, what you've learned in university, if that's what you base your wisdom on, I really don't believe that that is true wisdom, because it begins with God and it ends with God. Now, 1 Corinthians 3:19 is another verse that you can look these up later. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. In other words, that what we think in this world is wisdom, it's foolishness to God. It means nothing. God is our creator. He created us from dust, from the dirt. That's what we were created from in the beginning. And to think that we know better than God, and that we don't need him in our lives, and that we can figure things out, it's craziness, really. And so if people want true wisdom, what do they have to do? First, they need to learn to get into the Word of God, the Bible. Start reading it. If you've never read the Bible, start in John in the New Testament or Psalms in the Old Testament, and pray before God, help me to understand what I'm reading, and ask him to help you, and he will. If you know of a Bible study group from a good church, you may want to join that, or a Zoom meeting. Right now I'm doing Zoom meetings for ladies every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, so you could always join with us. All you have to do is message me and I'll tell you how you can join. But you need to get involved with other Christians and learn the Bible. So the first thing is have an interest in the Bible and start fearing God, respecting him, and respect his word. Secondly, once you've learned some of these things from the Word of God, the second thing that we have to do, all of us, is to obey what we are learning. You know, if we just look at it and we learn some things from the Bible and we close the book and just go on living the way we have always lived, that's not wisdom. Wisdom is taking the truths from the Bible and applying them to our lives and changing some of the things that we've been doing. And our life will start going in a positive track. And some great things are going to come from that. You're going to see, you may not see it tomorrow right away, although you'll probably start feeling peace. But you may not see all the changes that God is going to do in your life immediately. But you know, if you are faithful and steady and you keep studying and you keep praying and asking God for wisdom and asking him to show you what his word says, you're going to just see that your whole life will change. You know, there's too many people that I know of that they come in and say that they want to know Jesus Christ. They want to have a change in their lives and they need it desperately. Sometimes they're on drugs or alcohol, or perhaps they've got some kind of addiction that they just can't shake. And they're saying, I need help desperately. But you know, there is one problem that many of them have. And that is that they're really coming because they're tired of the pain that they're experiencing. They want the pain to go away, but they really don't want to change their lives. So if you want a change in your life, you've got to be willing to make changes. And the best way of making a change is following the Word of God and doing what it says. And sometimes that means leaving certain relationships, doing things that are uncomfortable, going to church when you don't feel like it. You might be tired and you just don't want to go. Joining a Bible study when you've never been in the Bible before. Perhaps picking up a Bible in your house when you'd rather watch something on TV. Those things are kind of uncomfortable. But you know, if every day we start doing the right thing and using our wisdom and getting into the Word and letting it change our lives, you're going to see that your whole life will change. And all of a sudden you're going to have a peace that passes all understanding. And you're going to have wisdom beyond your years. And when people ask you questions, you'll just know the answer because God is giving you wisdom. And that's what all of us should want for our lives. So I hope that some of these things have encouraged somebody, and I would really encourage you to write me a little message. If you've gotten anything from this message, share it with your friends. You can check YouTube. We have our channel on YouTube where we have all our different messages each week. And I will talk to you again next week. I hope you have an awesome week. And don't forget what it takes to have wisdom in your life through the Word of God, through prayer, and being obedient to the things that you learn. Take care now. Nice being with you. Bye.